Come back here." He reached into the bag and pulled out some money. It was $12,000. "Go to Capuzo, the tailor, tomorrow. Let him make you a suit. Something around 10 grand, so you look sharp for the ceremony." I stopped by Capuzo's tailor shop the following day, around 7 p.m. It was one of those rarely frequented places, mainly because the items for sale were very much pricey. If you were just getting by on a salary, especially minimum wage, shopping at Capuzo's wasn't really an option. The shop itself was steeped in history. Walking in, I was greeted by the sound of an old bell fixed to the door, signaling my entry. The shop seemed like it was from the 60s, even though we were in 1993. The store was empty, so I took my time browsing. I found myself drawn to the hats. I liked the suits as well and the coats. I even liked the shoes. I liked everything. Everything there caught my fancy. Just as I decided on one item, another one would catch my eye, seeming even more appealing. Making a choice became impossible. And suddenly I heard someone greeting me in Italian. "Ciao." He then told me, "Don't bother picking anything. Go ahead and sit on that stool." "Did Don Salvatore send you here?" I told him yes. Then he disappeared for a minute or two. So I found the stool particularly high off the floor and took a seat. Out of the blue, a young boy, probably around 15 or 16, appeared and removed my shoes and replaced them with crocodile leather shoes. They were a perfect fit, and I was really taken with them. It was my first experience with crocodile leather, and I was impressed. Just a moment later, Capuzo came over with the suit and said, "Try this on." It fit me perfectly. He handed me a coat and leather gloves as well. It was remarkable. Everything fit right on the first try. It was the first time ever I tried clothes in a store and they fit perfectly from the first try. Capuzo dressed me in silence, meticulously, focusing on every detail. After he finished, he said, without looking at me, "Whoever comes to this store doesn't get to choose what to wear. I choose for my clients." Then stayed quiet for a moment and said, "I know what I'm doing here, boy. My grandfather, he used to dress Frank Sinatra." Later I found out it was true. Frank Sinatra did sing for the Mafia and was known to visit an Italian tailor in Chicago. Clearly, Capuzo's merchandise was aimed for the very wealthy, including Mafia members and celebrities and stars like Frank himself. I left the store that day with a bill of around $9,000. It was the first time I had ever spent so much money on myself. Wearing those $800 leather shoes, even if I'm not a dancer, I felt like I could dance all the way home. I headed to the laundry service, just a short walk from Capuzo's store. At the back office of the laundry service, a lot of the mafiosos were gathered. I greeted those I recognized before finding Luigi. I spent about 20 minutes with him. He was in a good mood. He spent the whole time sharing his stories, probably trying to impress me. After a while, the door swung open and in walked Don Salvatore, followed by Don Pescara and then his daughter, Lucia. And catching a sight of me, she couldn't help but laugh. As the bosses departed, we trailed behind them. Everyone got into a car and a long line of cars made its way towards a nearby city called Rockford. After an hour's drive, the convoy turned around an area known as Riley. We continued for another 10 minutes on a road that was in terrible shape. It was dark when we arrived at a massive farm, its entrance guarded by huge doors, and beside the doors stood two guards, equipped with walkie-talkies. They opened the gates for us, and we entered the big farm through a driveway lined with lights on either side, leading to a grand castle at its end. Just a few minutes before we reached the castle, it began to rain, and as we arrived, over 20 valets rushed out with umbrellas, taking care first of the bosses before attending to the rest of us, shielding us from the rain. It seemed to me like it was a bit exaggerated, as the castle door was like 20 steps away. But considering the least expensive suit in our group costs more than $5,000, it would be dumb to let them get ruined by the rain. So following the valets, the car valets arrived to take care of the cars and take them to the garage. Once inside the castle, we entered a large hall bustling with people, music, and servers offering champagne. It was clear to me that this gathering wasn't about welcoming me into the Mafia. This was a special event that took place only once a year. You see, in the US, there are 27 families that are part of the Mafia. Of these, 5 families stand at the top, overseeing the business and leading the rest. This yearly event was an important gathering where all the Mafia families across the US come together to meet and resolve any disputes. Given the scale of the operation, conflicts were very much inevitable, but they were traditionally addressed at these annual meetings with the 5 leading families. So if you are the boss of a territory and another family took over some of your territory, you reach out to the big families. And if the dispute is not considered urgent, you will have to wait until the yearly meeting. All this to say, the Italians don't kill each other for these small disputes, unless of course, if the orders has been given to get rid of someone. In the middle of all the luxury suits, I spotted Luigi again and joined him. We engaged in casual conversations about many topics while waiting. After a while, a bell rang, signaling that it was time for the dinner to begin. The way the families were seated revealed who the big 5 families were, with Don Salvatore being the boss of one of those 5 big families. Just as the meal was about to start, Don Salvatore looked at me and signaled for me to join him. When I got next to him and was standing beside him, he addressed the silent gathering. This boy may not be Italian, but he works for me, and from today he will be a Mafia soldier. No one seemed to object. Then one of the other capos asked me for my name. I said my name is Johnny, sir. And he said, from today, your name is Johnny Borsa. This made everyone laugh, marking my official entry as a Mafia soldier. Borsa in Italian means bag. It means that everyone in there was aware of the bag containing a head that I had to travel with during 11 hours all night to deliver it to Don Salvatore. I liked the nickname. It meant for me that if you try to play games with me, you probably will end up in a bag. Returning to my place beside Luigi suggested, you need to open a restaurant. That seems strange to me. I said, no, I don't need a restaurant, I have a job now. Luigi then said, yes, you probably have a job now, but you're going to be making a lot of money with this job. And you need a business to launder that money. He explained that many people there owned businesses specifically for laundering the money they made from their Mafia-related activities. Then I told him I don't know exactly how to manage a restaurant. And he said that I don't need to know how to manage a restaurant, just hire someone who does and pay them a bit. You'll use the business as a front. So it seems like you have a legitimate source for all that money. After dinner, almost everyone started dancing, with elegant piano music filling the air. In the middle of the crowd, I noticed Lucia's gaze fixed on me. It wasn't a look of admiration or affection, but something else. She approached, laughing, and asked me if I still planned on killing her. We both laughed off the earlier misunderstanding, and she explained that testing every new soldier or hitman was routine for the Mafia, although she wasn't usually involved. However, she had been in her father's office that day and decided to act as the victim. Then I asked her, tell me, what favor do you need from me? She seemed surprised and asked me how I knew she was in trouble. I told her that her expression gave her away. She looked like someone in need of a favor, actually. Turns out, Lucia did have a problem. Despite not being directly involved with the Mafia's darker dealings, having pursued university education and staying clear of the organization's activities, she faced personal problems. She was addicted to gambling. Her father was actually aware of her gambling, but had no idea about the extent of the amount she was spending on a daily basis. Don Pescara was under the impression that Lucia frequented casinos, perhaps spending a few $1,000s before heading home. However, the reality was far more severe. She was actually spending between $20,000 and $30,000 every night she goes out to casinos. Given that most casinos impose a cap on betting amounts, with restrictions preventing bets of, let's say, $50,000 to $100,000 in the past, Lucia found a loophole. She discovered that illegal casinos had no such limits, allowing her to bet as much as she wished. This freedom fed into her addiction, taking her to places where the stakes were unrestricted and significantly higher. Lucia's problem started when she started visiting an illegal casino which was owned by an Irish guy. On the night that escalated the problem, she had already lost $25,000 in a legal casino before heading to the illicit one. There, her luck didn't improve at all, and she lost an additional $30,000. She was ready to call it a night, but the owner, who is familiar with her habit of losing large sums of money, offered to lend her more money so she can continue playing. Lucia was tempted by the offer, and she continued gambling throughout the night. And under the effect of alcohol as well, by the time the night was over, she found herself in a staggering debt, owing the casino more than $500,000. She did not have $500,000 and her father never gave her that much money. So after that terrible night, Lucia attempted to avoid the casino's owner's efforts to collect her debt. And soon the casino owner realized that she was weaker than he thought. He thought of her as some rich kid with parents that could protect her, but no one was protecting her from him. So he started threatening her. And it was then that she sought my help. She told me that she turned to me specifically because of my newcomer status. She believed that everyone else she might ask within the Mafia would immediately inform her father. She thought that, unlike the other soldiers who were deeply loyal to her father, I might be more inclined to help her without going straight to Don Pescara. Me being new and not Italian seemed to her as an assurance that I wouldn't immediately report her situation to her father. Understanding the gravity of Lucia's situation, I knew better than to tackle this problem alone, so I shared the news with Luigi. And together we devised a plan to check in on the owner of the Irish casino. We agreed to meet the following day at 4 p.m. and then pay him a visit. The next day, at 4 p.m., with my gun in my coat, I drove to Luigi's place. And within 5 minutes, Luigi joined me in the car, armed as well. We got to the casino, and once parked next to it, Luigi looked at it, then turned to me with a smile and said, "You needed a business. Here you go. You've got a business now." I didn't understand what he meant at first, but I will always remember this moment. And without further elaboration, he opened the door and we stepped out, ready to enter the casino. We made our way to the bar and took a seat. The bartender came over to ask what we'd like to drink. Luigi asked for water, even if he loved whiskey. He had a rule actually. When he's on a job, he only drinks water. So we asked about the casino owner as well, and the bartender mentioned that he was expected to arrive in about 30 minutes. After serving us 2 bottles of water, we spent our time surveying the bar and awaiting the owner. And 30 minutes later, the door opened and in walked a man who immediately began to issue instructions to the staff and waitresses, and he looked like the boss. I had thought that Luigi would fix this situation by simply introducing us and explaining who we were and our connections to Lucia, and hoping that would be enough for us to fix this amicably and part ways with the casino owner. As soon as the owner spotted us, our polished croco leather shoes and high-end suits tipped him off about our background. He seemed as well to recognize Luigi. Luigi was a well-known figure in Chicago's underground scene, which instantly raised his concern. He was really worried. He quickly came to meet us and asked us to join him in his storage area, mainly to avoid the curious eyes of his employees, as he was unsure why we were paying him a visit. On the way there, he asked the waitress to bring us a bottle of champagne and glasses, but Luigi declined and quickly told him, "We're not here to drink champagne." Then the Irishman asked us, "Alright, then how can I help you, gentlemen?" Luigi answered him, "We are here to know why you want to sell your business." The owner seemed confused and worried. He said there might be a mistake as he isn't planning on selling the casino. Luigi then asked him, "Do you know who I am?" To which the Irishman answered, "Yes, I think you are Luigi Pistola." Luigi smiled and told him, "Well, it came to our knowledge that you want to sell your business. And it's a good thing that you know who I am, so from now on, this will be your partner in this casino." Luigi was famous for acting quickly, and also famous for being backed by the Mafia bosses. Since the casino owner knew who Luigi was, he probably also knew that rejecting Luigi's offer might end up in Luigi taking out his gun and shooting him in the face. So, it seems like I've become a partner in an illegal casino operation. And as we were about to leave, Luigi paused, turned back to the casino owner, then told him, "Lucia, you know, the girl who owes you $500,000. She is the daughter of Don Pescara. So you better forget about her debt."